It doesn't matter how angry you are or how disappointed you are. Never make careless statements, especially when you're dealing with somebody whom you don't know. Let me give you a story. A well-known preacher went into a hotel in a certain town, and he had booked a room and he was given a room. But around 2:30 a.m., he discovered that his room did not have any running water. So he called the reception and told a lady picked up, rather a young lady picked up, and he said to her, "My room has no running water." And the young lady responded and said, "I know." So the guy was taken aback. He asked, "What do you mean you know?" And the young lady says, the receptionist that is, said, "It is the only room in this hotel that does not have water." And she continued to say, "We switched your room because the person who had given that room complained so much and made a lot of noise and insulted us so much that we decided to switch your room with his." And the preacher got so mad and said, "Young lady, to call you stupid would be to defame that name." I'm quoting directly. And he says to her, "You should go back and apologize to your mother for the day you were born." The young lady kept quiet. And the preacher kept quiet for about 5 minutes or so. Then he asked, "Young lady, are you still there?" And she says, "Yes." And then he says, in a typical European way, "What do you have to say for yourself?" And then the young lady says, "Since you have asked me what I have to say, I've got one thing to say. I go to a Bible school where you come to preach every year. And you can imagine what the preacher felt." And he apologized and said, actually, I didn't apologize, he just said, "I'm kidding, right? All those things that I said to you are not true. I was just kidding." And in the morning, the preacher went down and found the young lady and knelt before her and apologized profusely. And the lady says, "It's okay. It's all right. I am the one on the wrong. I should have told you that that room has no running water." But the preacher went ahead and said, "I've wronged you and I've wronged God and I have disappointed the God that I preach." And of course, the discussion went on until it was done. A year later, when he was back to the town, he went into the church where the lady goes to, and he met the pastor there, the pastor in charge. And the pastor says, "There's a lady here, a young lady here who goes to the Bible school that you go to teach every year, once every year. And she says that she really loves you." Let me take you just a little bit back. When they were having the confrontation in the morning, the lady did tell the preacher that he actually does love him. She does love him very much, and how he preaches and all that. So this time around, the preacher, the pastor in charge of the church where she goes to, confirms to this particular preacher that that young lady says that she loves you very much. And then the preacher goes ahead to tell the pastor that, "Let me tell you what I did to that young lady." And he goes ahead to explain the whole situation and the whole scenario and the words he said to her. And then the preacher looks at, the pastor looks at the preacher quietly and says, that young lady is an orphan. She doesn't know who her mother is. She doesn't know who her father is. She was abandoned on a foreign land when she was just been born, and she's been raised as an orphan. So she doesn't know her mother. She doesn't know her dad. She doesn't know her family. And the pastor says to the preacher, when you said that she should apologize to her mother for the day she was born, it must have cut through her heart terribly. And the fact that she did not complain, neither did she insult the preacher back. In fact, she said, I love you and what you preach and what you do is a testament that she's really a Christian, a person after God's own heart. And the preacher couldn't help but cry his tears out because he realized that as a preacher, you can be preaching but not doing the right thing. But more so, the words that we speak when they go out, they never come back. And sometimes they can hurt a person so bad. So bad. And if it's a person you've never seen, you don't know anything about them, you can be sure probably you've just destroyed them. So let's be careful of the words that we speak to people, those we know and those we don't, because those words can either edify the God in you, or they can destroy the God in you. And what I mean by that is the person who you profess to worship, they can just destroy that narrative that you have put around you. Just words that we speak. So what we speak to our spouses when we are angry, words we speak to our children when we are angry, words that we speak to strangers when we are angry. Let's measure them. Let's measure them. If the hotel's management knew that that particular room did not have water, it was not the lady's fault, but she took the blame, she took the abuse. You can imagine if it was not a preacher who was talking to her. Those two statements that were said could have been worse. So let's be careful of the words we say to people around us. Don't be in a rush to insult. Don't be in a rush to speak your mind because you are angry. In fact, the more angry you are, the cooler you should be. The more quieter you should be. The more hurt you are, the more silent you should be. Don't glorify opening your mouth and saying, I have to speak what is in my heart. It is true, you can. But which words are you going to use? What words do you measure what those words or what impact those words will have on the person whom you're speaking to? So let's be careful about the words that we speak to people we don't know and people we also know. Adios.